Hey everyone, thanks for checking out this video. In this another art tip series video, we're going to cover one important topic and one important habit that I developed over the years, which really helped me in my artistic career. And I want to give my thought process, the do's and don'ts, same like last video. And yes, let's dive into it. The topic that we're going to discuss today is um, the documentations of your ideas, because the key thing as an artist is like how to not forget our ideas, right? Because ideas are like very fragile, and we used to get ideas like at any random time. Like sometimes when we shower, when we like travel, when we see things, we get inspired and we get an idea, and on next minute like we completely forget about that ideas. All right, so this one habit is really crucial. If you are an artist or any creative, start building this. And so we're going to discuss like how I do it, and the things that I follow as an artist on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, let's dive into it. The first thing that I do whenever I get an idea, right, I try to document them. So documentation is like it can be with like any kind of format. Either you can do it with like digital format, either you can do it like traditional format. If you have like a pen and sketchbook, you can just like document that idea in any way. All right, it's nothing to do with like you need to do it with like watercolor, or you don't need to worry about the mediums. If you have pen and pencil, you can just like use that. If you have like a digital sketchbook like Procreate, anything. All right, it's nothing about the tools. It's nothing about like how good you want to be in terms of like documenting those ideas. It can be very sketchy. It's purely just like translating your ideas into the paper. That's the essential part. All right, so if you like in the screen, if you can see, like these are some of my the ideas that I document them on a daily basis. Sometimes it's just like some like line drawings and like some values, or sometimes it's like a few scribble with like values and like thinking about the lighting and like the value pattern. Sometimes it's like very sketchy, like some very sketchy. Sometimes you can't even see any kind of a context. It's just for me. It's not for anyone else. All right, whenever I get an idea, I try to document them. So that's the first important habit that we all need to do. And once you document them, all right, once you document them, you don't need to execute them right away. It's going to go into your library, so that even after months you can always like review them, you can get inspired and take them and like flesh it out. So the key goal for doing this habit is to not forget about your potential like ideas. If you lose your ideas, you're also losing potential for your projects, which can lead to like more benefits in a longer run. So the common mistake that we do is, when we get an idea, majority of the artists or creatives, they think like, oh yeah, whether this idea is good or is it done already. We just like not even like try to put them into the paper. We just like literally skip the ideas, because like we have so much questions thinking about like whether that idea is good or bad. The first thing that we need to do is, no matter how big the idea, how simple the idea is, just document them. And for documenting, you can use any tools. Like I'm going to show you some of like my PSD. Like I used to have like this large PSD file where I tend to just scribble out some ideas. Right, it's just for me. And sometimes it's like very vague, but that is really helpful for me in the longer run. And I'll show you like how I take those ideas and like flesh it out. So this idea bank, it's more like your personal vault, and you can always go in and find something interesting. So you don't like get that artistic block. Oh, not sure like what do I draw today. All right, so I tend to do this habit on a everyday basis. Like sometimes it's like like I do that in like physical sketchbook. Sometimes I do that in digital, like wherever I am at that moment. If I get ideas and inspiration, I try to document them. And so I don't usually just draw. I sometimes usually write along with the picture, so that I'm trying to write it down, like write down my thought process, so that I know like why I have created that picture in first place. So I don't worry about like the execution part right away. The first step that we all need to do is try to capture that, and in a simple way possible, like no fancy brushes. It's like you can see it's like just like some round brushes, like I'm just like scribbling down those thoughts. Sometimes I try to work out my composition and think about like the lighting. So sometimes it's slightly detailed, but still it's rough, no details and such. But detail, like when I mean by detail is I'm just like thinking a little bit like further, right? Like I'm thinking about the composition, I'm thinking about like how I want the light to affect that scene. So it's just like those steps. So if you look over here, I'm thinking about like, let's say, the compositions, the camera angle, some ideas like how I want to arrange things. It's very very rough, but it has like some kind of intention. So that is really really crucial when you're documenting your ideas. It's not about rushing things out, but we need to be in that middle ground where you're just documenting your ideas quickly so that you don't forget. At the same time, you use this as like a guide to develop it further. All right, so I'm going to show you like some of my rough sketch and the final one. So over here is just about like some ideas, like the architecture and this place, and like having some characters. I'm just like thinking about some of those the key concept, but I'm not worried about like getting into the details of the architecture, thinking about lighting. Even though it has lighting, I can improve when I'm doing my final concept. So that's the rough sketch, that's the um, final sketch basically, and this is the same rough sketch, the final one. It's, you see over here is just pretty much like I just like draw some train and a character and the dog, some kind of abandoned station. So I'm not worried about like making the perspective right, like having everything working out in this rough sketch. It's purely documenting your ideas. So once you do that, I think the next step is just about like the execution. So yeah, so that's the rough and final. So let's get into, let's say, sometimes like we have this like urgency, like, oh yeah, I need to have like a right tools, I need to have an ipad, I need to have like a really good computer so that I can do better. No, you don't need to have that when you're just like building this habit. So I'm going to show you, sometimes like I don't do it digitally, sometimes like I try to do it like traditional. So if you see over here, some of my sketches, again, I'm not trying to draw perfect images. It's just like documenting those thoughts, just like with few keywords. Same over here. Sometimes I just like figuring out like some value structure, compositions. These are some of the image I haven't done at all. Like, so it's there in my sketchbook, so that if I come back even after a few months, I can take those ideas and flesh it out, gather more reference, do whatever that is required to execute that concept. So the same over here, like the above images are like the physical sketchbook, the bottom one is the digital one. So yeah, that's the second one. Let's go back to this concept. I want to talk a little bit about uh, mm, talk about like what are the things that we need to avoid when you're doing this habit, right? So let's say, let me just create a new document. So yeah, the main concept, let me just like summarize it quickly. So this is your personal vault, and you're going to store ideas. That's a key goal. Whenever you get inspired, sometimes like if I'm traveling, if I'm getting ideas, I try to use my phone. There are like so many apps these days we have. Try to do like a quick doodle, then come back home and transfer those images. and put it into your main vault, main PSD file, or any app that you use. So, and the key things that you need to remember is like, don't aim for perfect artwork, right? So this is just, you're transferring the ideas that you have in your brain to any kind of the tools, like digital or traditional tools, so that you can come back to those ideas. Because like as an artist, we easily forget, like the next day, oh yeah, I had a really good idea yesterday, but like right now I forgot that idea, right? It happens for everyone. So yeah, don't aim for perfect artwork. This is not to prove anyone that you're really good. So this is just for you. This vault is just for you. I sometimes I don't even show these to like anyone, like, but right now just like I want to share this habit that I developed over the years, which really helped me. Because like majority of the times, like I struggle with coming up with ideas, or sometimes I just like travel somewhere, I get an inspiration, but next day I just completely forget that. So that's why I built this habit, and this is really helping me a lot. And yeah, don't aim for like perfect artwork. Use any tools you want. If you have like a physical book, that's great. You don't need you don't need like really costly tools and stuff to let's say sketchbook. You can just like have any sketchbook that you can afford, a ballpoint pen, or a pencil. You don't need like those fancy tools. So because we are just only documenting the ideas. And during this process, again, use any method. If you're comfortable with like line drawing, do that. If you want to just like, if you got like few more minutes, like yeah, you can just like figure out your values, like even like compositions, anything that really help you to like sort out this idea, so that you can come back later and execute them. The things that I would say not to do, you shouldn't do this, not to do during this process is, don't judge it early. All right, like the things that happen for us as an artist is like, we try to think like whether this idea is really cool or not, what others might think. So we judge it early. All right, don't do this. Don't worry about like whether this idea is already don't worry about like whether this idea is already executed by someone else, right? Because like we always like try to think the ideas are vague, or like it's been already done. It's completely fine. Like you can give your approach or your taste to that same topic. So I never worry about like, or think about like whether this idea is already done. um, because like as we develop our visual library, you will start building your unique world and ideas. So especially for the beginners, don't worry about like the judging your ideas, whether it's good, whether it will be liked by someone else. Even if it is like a simple idea that has been done 1,000 times, you can still do it. That's how you try to build this habit, right? So yeah, make sure you start building these think about these things, right? Like don't do this, because I have done this a lot of times early in my career, right? Like judging early, thinking whether someone will like my concept or not. So and if you do this, what happens is you're killing the idea, but at the same time you're trying to build a habit of like not trying to push those ideas. So what happens is, if you're not pushing it further, those ideas, what happens is you're building a set of habit of fear of not starting anything. So that fear will will make us to not even proceed further. So then what happens is, because of not starting something, that fear leads to creative block, right? Like this is why many people, like many beginner artists, they tend to get creative block, is because they think they judge early. They think like those ideas are already there, their ideas are not unique. Like they just like give all the stuff to other people, all right? So they think like what others might think. So yeah, don't try to do this, especially when you're like documenting your ideas. Okay, you get an idea, just like put it into the paper, worry it later, all right? And the another thing that I want to tell is, don't worry about like the outcomes. Don't think about like oh, okay, now I have written like documented my ideas, like not sure like how do I execute that, all right? That is secondary. Like when I document my process, right, like let's say these images, I'm not worried about like how do I draw that character, like how do I draw this architecture, the buildings and stuff. I'm not worried about that. I try to think that later. The execution part is later. So don't worry about the outcomes. So when we trying to take the sketch to the next step, the way that I try to do is I try to divide into like multiple checklists. Okay, I want to do maybe fix my composition, fix my values, like gather more reference for the character poses. All right. So I have like a lot of things to do. Then I try to break it down into chunks. Then I try to execute them one by one. Instead of worrying about like the final outcome of that one big image, I try to break it down into chunks. So yeah, don't worry about like the outcomes in the initial ideas documenting. So yeah. So let's say what are the stuff that you can do to document your ideas. Let's say we have seen like not to do. Let's go for like what to do, right? Start simple. Physical sketchbook. I usually have this. I usually have like these kind of a small sketchbook where I think you can see this, where I try to document my ideas, right? So I always have this physical sketchbook next to me. So even if I don't have like access to the computer, I always like try to like document them to my physical sketchbook. And yeah, start simple. All right, use any tools that you want. Worry about the tools later. Worry about the outcomes later. So start simple. Then let's say every day, these are the tips I would give for anyone who is starting this kind of a habit. All right, every day try to look at the things that you really like, right? I used to do like a lot of like virtual tour on an everyday basis. So sometimes I get inspired, and the first thing that I do is like I try to sometimes like screen grab those like images, or like save those images to an app that I have, so so that I can keep coming back to that. So once I screen grab that, I try to like think about like some stories and ideas, then do like a rough sketch. So start building this habit, and you don't need to develop them straight away, but try to document them every day. Then every week maybe try to review them. Maybe you might have done like 5 to 10 sketches, right? Try to review them if there is any kind of a potential project that you can develop from those sketches. So yeah, though these are the things that I would do. It's very simple, right? Like there's not much checklist to do, but the thing is like you need to develop this habit, because like yeah, lost ideas is basically lost potential. as I said earlier, like this is just like one PSD. I have like a lot of PSD that I have ideas sometimes, like let's say I don't have a skill set to execute them right now, but that's completely fine. Let's say I'm doing a scene where I have some kind of robot or something fighting, all right? And if I don't know how to draw those robots, right, how to draw, the steps that I do is I really like the ideas. Then what I need to do is like I need to go and learn those things first. So what happens during this step is it takes me back to the learning mode. All right. So, okay, I have an idea, but I'm not sure like how to execute them. So the next step is, okay, break it down into chunks, then pick the area that you want to improve. So what it builds is it's built into a loop of like constant learning. So once I have, so what happens is, it puts me in the constant learning mode, and which makes the process very fun, because if you keep drawing the things that you already know, or like if you feel comfortable, there's not much joy, right? So we should always have some kind of a struggle. Then you solve that problem that excites you, then you figure out the problem, you execute them, that releases a dopamine, all right, like that happy feeling. So that's what makes this process very fun. And yeah, I think so this is the another art tip that I want to share with you guys. So give it a try, and start documenting your ideas on an everyday basis. Keep it very simple, keep it sketchy. You see, like it's very, very rough. I'm not like worried about the poses. It's all about like the ideas, the quick ideas that you can understand. And once you do that, I think it becomes like a kind of a routine and a habit, which I can't emphasize how this one habit really helped me to like grow as an artist. So yeah, try this approach. And I'm going to share some, like I think like after this like conversation, I'm going to share a video time lapse where I take some of my sketches, like a rough sketches like this. You see in the screen, right? This is like the rough sketch that I document. Maybe it took me 20-30 minutes. Then I leave it aside. Then when I have a time, I try to refine them. So let me show one more images. So this is another image. Pretty quick round brush, focusing on the idea. This time is not just a scribble, all right? So this time I'm just like documenting this image, because I have a little bit more time, like maybe 30 minutes, 40 minutes. I'm not rushing the things. I'm just like taking some time, but still this is like very quick. I'm not sitting for 4 hours. I'm just like doing it for 30 minutes. So once I do this, again, wrap it, then move on to something else. And then this is the finished version, where I just like try to focus on each and every element, try to focus on like the goals that I have for that image. So I'm going to run a time-lapse video after this narration, so that you guys can watch like how I take my rough sketch to final. Let me know if you guys like want to cover some other topics, or if you have like something to discuss. Let me know. I'm going to like go over some more art tips in the upcoming videos, and hope you guys enjoy the video. Thank you so much.